I want to talk to you today about the regret anxiety loop. The regret anxiety loop is something that we can all relate to. First of all, we think of something that we've done and we regret doing it. And as we regret doing it, we go into anxiety mode. We start feeling anxiety. Now, what makes this worse is that we can't fix these things from the past that we regret. So, therefore, it's really hard to fix the anxiety. It kind of gets locked in. And what happens then is that we take our anxiety into future actions. So what happens is that we end up more likely to do something in the future that we then regret and start the loop all over again. And as we go around and around the regret anxiety loop, what happens is that over time, we build up more regrets and more anxiety until we get to a kind of breaking point. And that can have implications for our emotional and mental health. So, if you've been watching my videos, listening to my recordings, you'll know that my method isn't for everybody because my method is to direct you into the most intense core element of what you're healing. Most people don't want to do that. They want to get as far away from their issues as possible. And that's very understandable. So it can be a little counterintuitive when you're directed back into your issue. But anyway, the regret anxiety loop. What do I recommend? What I recommend is a 3-stage process, and this came kind of channeled in a phone session with a client who is very in this loop at the moment. And in trying to break my client out of the loop, here's what I came up with, and you tell me what you think in the comments. So, number 1, stage 1 is you say, I did it. I did it. Whatever you did it, right? Forget about all the reasons why you did it, all the anxiety that made you make a bad decision, all of that. Forget about all of that. And remember, this is not about blame. This is about shifting the energy. Okay, so what we want to do is start off with, I did it. Okay? Because the fact is, you did it. And I know that your anxiety wants to flinch away from that fact, right? But you're not going to stop the car from running off of the icy road by throwing your hands up in the air screaming. You're going to have to maneuver the car to have any chance, right? So this is kind of the same thing. Number 1, I did it. Number 2, I'm allowed to do it. I am allowed to make mistakes. I am allowed to make dumb decisions. I am allowed to fail. I am allowed to do things that make me look ridiculous. Now, when I say I am allowed, what I'm really saying is there's no prior restraint, as they would say legally, right? There is nothing to stop you from going out and making a mistake, so you're allowed to go make a mistake. That doesn't mean you're allowed in terms of there will be no consequences. There are consequences for every action. Okay? But remember, what we are doing is trying to break a cycle. We're not trying to make you not regret what you regret. Excuse me. That's not the point. The point is to break a cycle. Okay? So I'm allowed to do it. And stage 3, I'm allowed to keep doing it in the future. I'm allowed to continue. Okay. Now, I know you're going to say to me, but I don't want to continue. Okay, well, you don't have to, right? But you are allowed to. That's different. Nobody's forcing you to make these mistakes again. You could learn a certain lesson and not make the mistake, right? But let's say you don't, okay? Let's say you mess everything up. I don't want you to mess everything up, but let's say that's just what happens. Okay, in that case, wouldn't it be a little better to not go into months and years of self-imposed suffering and anxiety? It doesn't mean you're going to be a psychopath or a sociopath. You can realize that you have certain weaknesses, right? And you can always condemn yourself for a certain weakness. And there's a spectrum of condemnation. There's all kinds of punishments that you can inflict upon yourself if you so choose. So, number 1, I'm allowed to do it. Number 1, I did it. Number 2, I'm allowed to do it. Number 3, I'm allowed to keep doing it. Now, how does this change and break the cycle? Because the cycle depends on the condemnation at the stage where I'm telling you to say, I'm allowed to do it. And you change that from, oh, I can't believe I did that. Why did I do that? Blah, 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 which creates suffering. When you say, I'm allowed to do it, it actually awakens you to some truths. And one truth is, why the hell would I do that? If I'm going to do something, why would that be my choice? So as soon as you say, I'm allowed to do it, your consciousness starts waking up to like, that's not really the best choice, but okay, yeah, technically I am allowed. But when you resist it, and when you feel shame and regret, and then you go into anxiety, and you come up with all these fears of what's going to happen as a result of your behaviors, that doesn't help. That doesn't break the cycle. I'm only interested in breaking the cycle and bringing you to a state where, number 1, you're not making decisions out of anxiety because you're trapped in this loop. You're making decisions basically saying, I might mess up. I often do. But I forgive myself. I don't punish myself after that happens. And because it's really the punishment that causes the biggest problem here. So I did it, I'm allowed to do it, and I'm allowed to keep doing it. That's how you break the cycle of regret, anxiety, regret, anxiety that all balls up into one big, horrible event. So try it and realize that this is a form of self-love. It's nothing messed up, okay? So anyway, more later. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you have any questions, if you need me to clarify anything, I'd be happy to do that. If you'd like me to walk you through this process, I do phone sessions with clients around the world, so you can get in touch with me at andysway.com. And there's also a Calendly link where you can book a free 15-minute phone conversation with me to discuss your issues and what you need to work on and see if my methods resonate with you. Thank you so much.